Hey, it's Arcsecond. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the Diana changes on the PBE. We'll start with our Q. They're buffing our Q by lowering the cooldown at early ranks. This has the biggest impact at level 5. After you have 3 points in Q, you can clear the range creeps with 2 Qs. So this will allow her to push a little bit faster. Also be able to get a little bit more harassed more frequently with Q. That change is a little less significant though, but still overall a great change for Diana. Nice buff. Now moving on to the bigger change though, they're moving her attack speed. They removed it from her passive, and they're moving it towards her E. Now her E will have a passive that whenever she casts an ability, she'll be granted 40 to 80% attack speed. Here, it's dependent on being able to cast a spell and having the ability. So the first 2 levels, or even 3 levels, depending on when you'll take this ability, will be weaker. And this will hurt the most for jungling and for the first few levels in lane, and especially in melee matchups, with whom you could trade more autos and prep your passive, so when they do get in range, if they were playing back, to have your passive ready when they're coming up. Also being able to prep your passive a little bit more consistently throughout the game will be a nerf to Diana. One of her best combos all of her best combos involve being able to prep her passive, and she'll have a harder time doing that, relying on having to use an ability first. So there'll be that nerf throughout the game. But then there'll be better combos. So now a combo you can do that still exists is when you Q something, prep your passive, especially if you're in lane, you can Q the range creeps, prep your passive, wait out the moonlight until the very end, then R forward. Your Q will be up even quicker now because of the changes to your Q. And then you'll have your passive ready, and then you'll be able to stack it again. And so in those situations, it'll be better. Another situation where the passive, or the new change to her passive will be weaker, is if you were, one thing that was really nice is you could push out when you were in with Diana. So you could often still get the wave if you normally pulled the wave, so you could push out fairly safely with no mana and fairly quickly, so it wasn't that risky. So that was one of her strengths. Also in most situations, like if when you're in lane, if you're out of resources or you TP back to lane and you have the resource advantage, you're often holding your cooldowns, but you're still able to push them in and fairly safely because of her old passive, which will be a little harder to do now. And there's a chance, if we're looking at the abilities now, because her E cooldown, you want that extra attack speed, and you also get a greater slow, and the cooldown goes down quite a bit on Moonfall, that there's a chance you max E second now. Also because on W, the mana cost increases every rank, and you need a lower mana cost to be able to use this new passive. So that might be a possibility. In terms of build, I think the Rowan Nashor's build will be more important, that you'll be able to cast the spells and still be able to prep your passive, and you'll be getting that extra on-hit damage. I think that build will be probably even better now. In terms of replacing the meta, I think Jungle Diana will be a little bit weaker. You need all this scaling. Jungle is the most important, that you're strong early, and our first clear should be slower now, and should be weaker, and you won't be able to take advantage of these later stats. Similar thing goes for mid, but you'll be able to make it through that early game a little easier. Still, the first few levels are going to hurt a little more. That was never Diana's strongest point in the game, but it was still helped to have that passive attack speed. But now late game, this should be a buff, especially when you're split pushing and actually hitting the tower. This could actually be quite strong. In terms of competitive play, this doesn't change her place too much, which I don't mind. I like her identity is actually staying fairly close to what it was before with her attack speed. Her strengths are still going to be similar. Prepping the passive, I still think, and being able to keep the push up mid. Those are 2 aspects that are really strong and might be lost now with these changes, which is probably my biggest concern. But overall, yeah, they haven't touched her weaknesses too much, and for that reason, I think in competitive play, she still won't be utilized as much. But overall, these are interesting changes, and we'll keep an eye out for more of them. Please let me know if this was helpful, and thank you so much for watching.